Hi, I'm Holly Slaughter, Elementary Reading and Language Arts Specialist, and welcome to LITEROCITY. In this episode, we'll take you inside the classroom to see some new techniques to enhance student writing. We'll visit one of the most interesting Tampa Bay treasures that unlocks this area's rich history. Danielle Campbell shows us how one of our high schools is tying Star Wars to literacy. But first, we'll be observing one of the nation's premier staff developers, Jan Richardson. We like to refer to Jan as the Jedi Master of guided reading. Jan Richardson is a nationally renowned literacy consultant and author who has earned her PhD studying struggling readers. She is here helping our teachers with a guided reading lesson.
Okay, so in a guided reading lesson, you always want to have a focus for your lesson. And the focus comes from the assessment. So the first thing we did, we looked at a running record, we looked at their comprehension, we looked at their spelling inventory, and that allowed us to pick a focus for each child that I would be thinking about as I'm interviewing or conferring with the children. There was also a time where we looked at what kind of lesson focus would we have. So we chose the comprehension focus of character analysis that would be for all children. And so that isn't critical. And then we planned the lesson together and thinking about what parts of this lesson do we need to write down and make sure we're prepared for it. And at the bottom of the chart, it actually has some, Rosie was thing because Rosie was considerate because you see how they have to really extend their thinking. So you want to do that, you think? Okay.
Hello. Yep, here is Isabella is so ready to learn.
Isabella's right. So the students come in, they sit at the table, and the first thing we do is we do a short introduction to the book. So I give them a little bit of a statement, short synopsis. We have them look at the photographs to kind of get an idea of what's happening in the story. And then I would introduce the vocabulary words. In this case, the vocabulary words were not in the story. They were vocabulary words they were going to use to describe the character. Kind of talked about those a bit. And then I had them read.
There was a loud boom. Oh dear, cried Rosie. What was that noise?
Yeah, it's really about following the children and knowing your children well. So you have to know the kids, know what it is that I worked with them. As a teacher, you would have worked with them yesterday, and you would have seen something yesterday that you want to make sure you emphasize in your teaching today. Now, the reason why I did fluency with this one and comprehension with these is because he was not real fluent. He was pretty choppy in his reading. These guys had already finished the book, so I knew they were fluent. So then they were working on their comprehension. Who is this dog? Rosie. So, Isabella, can you think of a word that you could use to describe her? On this page. Tell me more about that. Yeah. So then a coach came and we debriefed the lesson. And the purpose of that is to have that reflection on what did you notice in the lesson, what might you want to do differently tomorrow, and we actually identified some things that we think we would have done differently. And that's something I want teachers to do. I want them to take a minute. When kids are changing gears and they're moving their groups around, I want teachers to make a little note on their lesson plan. What are my next steps for this group? Because when you're doing 3 or 4 groups a day, it's hard to keep track. And then I'm going to use that information to help me plan my next guided reading lesson.
To be able to see Jan do her on-the-fly, picking out what the kids are struggling at and how to really pinpoint what they're doing, being able to really analyze the running records and her other assessments in the Jan Richardson first grade assessment kit is key, and just being able to put it all together to really pull out what the group needs and then more specifically what each kid needs.
So the big view is that reading is a message-getting, problem-solving activity. It's not just sounding out words, it's not just identifying words, it's problem solving as you read. Now for the emergent and the early readers, kindergarten and first grade, the problem solving often occurs at a word level. And they're figuring out what the words are, and that helps them figure out what the text means. At a fluent level, like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, the problem solving isn't about decoding, because they're already fluent in decoding. The problem solving is, do I understand what I'm reading? So it's always problem solving, it's always message getting, but that there are different stages of readers that you would emphasize different parts of the reading process.
It's almost too much to really digest yet. I think it'll take a few days for it to really all sink in. It's just really interesting to see it all in practice by Jan Richardson herself. It's what we do every day, so it's just interesting to see all of the parts the way that she does it. And a lot of things that were kind of aha moments, not that they were hard to understand, just that you wouldn't even have thought of doing it that way.
When I see a teacher use my lesson plan and my next steps framework, and then I see the joy in their faces and how successful the children are, there's not a better word to describe my feeling. I'm elated. And it's not because I'm famous, it's because children are becoming stronger readers and writers. And that's why we do what we do.
So that's what I mean when I say break a word, I mean you want to break those big words into parts and then think what's happening about the story. That's your job.
Amazing stuff. And these teachers see firsthand the impact that they can have on a child's life. When we come back, we'll take you inside the classroom for a special lesson on methods to elevate ELA instruction at the elementary level. Literocity returns in a moment.